Hey, if you won't give it to me, I'ma take it. Take it.
How's it going, everybody? I just wanted to share a little video with you to explain some things that I think can help your PC increase its performance, increase your FPS in games, overall performance for anything that you want to do. If you want more out of your PC, I'm going to show you some ways to do that. Let me start off by saying that this is not a sponsored video in any way, shape, or form, even though I wish it was. I'm going to be showing off a few applications from a producer called IOBit. So don't think that this is sponsored or anything like that. But we're going to be using several of their applications in this video. So here we go. 11.5. So definitely make sure that you have that. Now, the time that you're watching this video, it may be 11.6, 7, whatever it is, 7.2. It may even be 12, 13, who knows. But the one that is currently out right now is 11.5. It works very well. I've used these for many years, and they have always done very good for me. So I know for a fact that they're safe if you get them from the right website, right place, and such like that. So make sure that you get them from IOBit. Now, starting off with Advanced System Care 11, go over to Clean and Optimize. Once you get this set up, select all and just hit Scan. Now, I have already done a scan today. I recommend doing one per week. You can also go over to the Turbo Boost and Speed Up and turn that on, and that will stop processes that don't need to be running at the time, and it'll just kind of suspend them. So that'll save you a little bit of RAM. You can also optimize different things, which really doesn't help any. Going over to Driver Booster 6, this is a fantastic little program that searches through all of your drivers and makes sure that they are up to date. And it searches through everything. Now, you have to buy the premium subscription to update a couple other things that it's not going to let you to update, which really they aren't that important. I don't recommend buying it. But if you will just get the free Driver Booster 6 is currently the most up-to-date version. 6 point, I don't know, it's 6 something, but that's what it is right now. And so make sure that you have that and that you run a scan, and I would check that once a week as well. IOBit Smart Defrag is part of the Advanced System Care. All this IOBit stuff is all connected. I kind of wish it was all in one application, but there are separate applications that all do similar things. This will defragment your hard drives. Now, I don't recommend doing this for SSDs because of the way the SSDs are built. They don't need to be defragmented and optimized like that. But if you have a hard drive, an HDD, definitely defragment these like every couple weeks, probably once every 2 weeks or so. That would be a really good thing. And then they also have the same kind of little game optimization thing that I don't recommend doing. 6.1.5 is currently the newest version. CCleaner is the last one. I recommend also doing this, even though Advanced System Care 11 does the same things. CCleaner kind of finds some stuff on there that Advanced System Care might not find. So I would run both of them. I'd run CCleaner first, then Advanced System Care, Driver Booster, Smart Defrag, and then after you do all that, just restart your computer. Now, one thing I do really like about Advanced System Care 11 is that it has this little monitor up here that tells you how much RAM CPU is being used at the time. You can also click the little rocket to clear up RAM, and it'll just clean up your memory and make sure that nothing is running that's not supposed to be, that could be taking up performance for you. So I definitely recommend doing that often and before you jump into a game. Now, if you don't want to get these programs, then I will show you some of the ways that you can do these things manually. If you are going to do these or you already know about this kind of stuff, I recommend just skipping to a later part in the video, and I'll probably have that on screen for you. Okay, so the first thing that Advanced System Care kind of really does is that it cleans up junk files and it cleans off your disks. Now let me go ahead and show you real quick. This is a striped volume that I'm going to talk about later. Setting up RAID arrays for your hard drives, if you are using hard drives, is a really efficient way to save yourself some performance. So go ahead and click on the drive that has your files and stuff, probably your C drive, unless you have your operating system stored on a separate drive, which most likely you don't, but if you do, you can clean that one too, but really you want to clean the one that has all your files and all the things that you use on it. So right click on it and go to Properties, and then just hit Disk Cleanup. I've already done this, so there probably won't be hardly anything here for me, but check every single box and click OK, delete files. That'll take a while. If you've never done that before, it might take a long time, but it's definitely worth it, and it's definitely going to increase your performance and save you some space as well. The next thing you can do is window R at the same time, or you can just type run in the search box. Pull this up, and in run, type %temp%. Now, opening this is your temporary files. You don't need anything in here really, except for the files that it won't let you delete. So select everything and click delete. Now, like I said, some of these are not going to actually be able to delete, so just skip those. All of these rest of these won't be able to, so just skip those. That will save you a lot of room. For me personally, I've never had these take very long because I do it very often. If you've never done this before, like I said, that could take up to 2 hours, as far as I know. It just depends on how old your computer is and how much you've used it, how much stuff you have stored on it. I know I have a friend that actually had like 800,000 files on his, and it took several hours. So now, really quick, I'm going to talk about something a little bit more advanced. This is actually a hardware thing that you can do that is actually mildly cheap and inexpensive, that is pretty efficient and it's neat, and I am just currently getting into this. It's called RAIDing, or setting up a RAID array with your hard drives. Now, if you have just a little bit of cash to spend, a hard drive is not very expensive. I recommend getting a 7200 RPM hard drive. If you're going to do one and you can afford it, the room in your machine, then you can set up a RAID array. That's what I have. Mine here is a RAID 0 array, and I named it Speedy Gonzalez because it's much faster. I'm currently moving all of my games and game files into that so that they will be able to download updates and load faster. Like, for example, if I try to load up Black Ops 4, oh, I'll have to fix that. I'm moving all my files into that so that I'll be able to load them much quicker. Now, if you right click on the Windows button and go to Disk Management, if you do have some free hard drives and you've installed them, for example, mine is Disk 0 and Disk 2. Disk 1 for me is where my C drive is. That's where all my system files and my operating system are. Definitely do not mess with that disk at all. But if you have 2 extra disks, or even 3 or 4, you can set up a RAID 0 or a RAID 10 array. I don't recommend using the other kind of RAIDs just because they don't really help performance and they're not very favorable. RAID 0 is a little bit more risky. RAID 10 is completely safe and performance increasing, although it's definitely a little bit more expensive. RAID 0 is kind of a cheap, yet a little bit risky solution to being able to load things faster. Like, for example, when I boot my computer up, if I were to have booted off of a RAID 0 array, it would load 3 times quicker. But since I have that on a regular hard drive, then it's not going to load faster. However, I'm storing all of my games and their files on a striped RAID 0 array. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So the first thing you'd want to do is right click on either of these disks and click New Striped Volume. Now, when you do click Striped Volume, there's going to be a little prompt wizard pull up. Just click Next, and it's really simple to set up. And I'm not going to show how to do it exactly in this video because I've already got mine all set up, but I will tell you that it's very simple to do a striped volume. So you take your 2 empty drives and make sure that they're formatted correctly. You want them to be NTFS file types, and they need to be GPT. And then you just set the amount of space that you want on that, which is all of it. Just set it to the max number and click OK, and that will take just a couple of seconds to complete. It's really quick, and what this does is it splits your data in half. So every time you download a file, half of the data goes into this and half of the data goes into this, and so it effectively splits it. Now, the danger of that is that if you lose data from one disk, if this disk were to fail or lose in any way this data is unusable. So that is why it's dangerous. RAID 10 actually has 4, so that it splits these here and here, and it also has copies of them here and here on the 3rd and 4th disk. Now, that's why RAID 10 is the fastest and safest array or RAID that you can use with hard drives, and it's highly recommended, although it is a little bit pricey. If you have files that you're okay with losing, like for example, I'm okay with losing my Call of Duty files because I know that they're stored online, and all I'll be losing is the actual game itself, which can be re-downloaded at any time. So, in order to access these files more quickly and have them load in a very quick manner, I'm going to definitely store these on a RAID 0 array of hard drives. So that is one way that you can get things to load faster and pull them from your storage faster. So that's a really good solution, and it's not very expensive. Another thing you can do, which I don't really recommend unless you're on a laptop or you just don't care about the way the Windows operating system looks or works, there's a lot of little effects and graphics in the system that actually make it look a little bit nicer. And if you don't care about those, you can save yourself a little bit of graphical performance. If you open up File Explorer and right click on this PC and go to Properties, it will open up the system settings and you go over here to Advanced System Settings. Now, under Advanced, you can see this Performance tab here, click Settings, and use Adjust Best Performance. That's not going to save you much, if any, but it definitely will help with your graphical performance as your GPU or APU or whatever you're using that handles your graphics is not having to deal with much stress from the operating system itself, and it can focus more on the game. Now, I talked about Driver Booster 6 earlier. What this does is it updates. Now, I didn't fully explain earlier that Driver Booster 6, the reason you want that is because having the most up-to-date drivers is really important for gaming because they constantly are set up to be optimized for new drivers and new updates of things. So it's really important to keep your system and your drivers up to date. That will definitely help. And if you don't, it can cause a lot of issues. So it's a really good idea to make sure that your drivers and your system are fully up to date. Now, Smart Defrag defrags your hard drives and make sure that the data is completely clean and working efficiently and optimized. It's a really good idea to do this often for hard drives, and like I said, I would not do it on a solid state drive just because it doesn't help, and solid state drives are fairly clean and efficient, and they don't really need to be optimized or defragged ever just because of the way they're built. Now, if you're running games on Steam and you would like those to run better, there's a few command lines that you can use to make them actually load the game better and more properly, more efficiently for your build. And I'm going to show those to you right now using CSGO as an example. These can vary per game, but I'm going to show you on CSGO the kind of settings that will help you to load the game faster and have it run more efficiently and those kind of things. If you go to set launch options, I'm going to show you just a few of these, and they might not even be relevant anymore. That some of these were fixes to old problems. I don't actually remember what that one does, but it was a fix to a problem. No vid makes it to where there's no intro video when you load the game up, which I don't even know if there is anymore with the new kind of remake of the loading screens and all that for CSGO. No joy takes out the joystick support so that your game actually doesn't have to check for that and check to see if you're using one. This was the secondary fix for that problem. Refresh 60 tells your game that you only want it to run at 60 hertz and 60 frames per second. If your monitor is 60 frames per second maximum and you're playing on 60 frames and 60 hertz on your monitor, definitely set frequency 60 and refresh 60. And they have to be set in this syntax with a dash and the words directly after that and a space between each one. That's how it needs to be written. If you use this high one right here, that will make sure that your computer recognizes this game as a high priority and will kind of put off other things in order to make this game run more efficiently. It is a little more dangerous, so unless you have a lot of wiggle room with your unless you have a lot of wriggle it is a little bit more dangerous, so unless you have a lot of wiggle room, I wouldn't recommend using high, but you can if you are desperate and you just need to try something. There are more for CSGO that I don't have on here, so it's definitely something that's worth looking into. Now moving on into Task Manager, I'm going to show you a little bit of things. So when you first open up Task Manager, it's going to look like this. You want to click More Details, kind of just open it up. Now these are all the processes that are running on your computer. I wouldn't really mess around with these unless you know what you're doing. For example, I'm recording on OBS right now, so it is showing me that OBS is using 8% of my CPU. It's kind of important to know these things, and it helps with gaming to know what's using up your graphics and what's using up your CPU and your memory. If you'll head on over to the startup page, if you want your system to be able to boot faster and all that sort of stuff, disable anything that you don't want to open or start loading while your computer is turning on. Like for example, I have Epic Games and Discord and stuff disabled, but I do want to open CCleaner because I want that to be checking for things and cleaning my computer. Same thing for Advanced System Care 11. Now, Windows Defender is fine, obviously, if you're using that as antivirus protection. Definitely keep that enabled and all that kind of stuff. Just disable OneDrive and all those other kind of things that shouldn't be starting up. And this definitely takes a little bit more research, but if you see some processes here that are taking up too much CPU or anything like that, you can right click on them and end task, and that's a good way to free up some space. That's what this RAM cleaner here does. It'll stop processes and it'll save you a little bit of everything actually. So if you have an auto RAM cleaner, that's a really kind of a good thing to have, although the auto cleaners themselves actually take up a little bit of performance, but in the long run you're actually gaining performance from the things that it's stopping, depending on how many kind of things you have running. Now let's say that I want Avast antivirus to be a high priority on my system. This is what you do to your games. You can go to details, which will take it to you over in this details tab, or you can just find it there, right click on it and set priority to either high or above normal. Don't do real time, and I wouldn't lower it. But I recommend if you need to and your system is doing other things, set it to above normal. Like I already said, I don't recommend high because there's certain things that your computer kind of needs to do, and it's just kind of a little bit dangerous. So don't do real time. And I don't recommend high, but above normal might help a little bit. But you'll have to do that after you already have the game running. So make sure that you have the game running and then you switch over into Task Manager, set it to above normal priority. But yeah, so running these things and keeping things up to date and doing these kind of things that I've recommended, these will help you increase your performance overall with your computer or with gaming or whatever you're using it for. And there's more things that you could do. I just wanted to cover a lot of the more basic and a little bit more advanced kind of things, and I really hope it helps. And I'm sorry it was such a long video, so let me know in the comments what you thought of the videos or if you have any recommendations. And take it easy, guys.